Welcome to African Dream Motivation.
When you take a critical look at Jumia's business model, you will realize that it is similar to that of Amazon and Alibaba. These are highly profitable companies bringing in billions of dollars year in, year out. In 2020, Jack Ma's Alibaba made over $71 billion in net profit, while Jeff Bezos' Amazon made $386 billion in net profit. So what's happening to Jumia? Well, to really understand what's going on with Jumia, let's have a look at the early stages of the giants in the industry. Going back in time, you will realize that Alibaba operated for 3 years without making a profit and waited for 15 years before listing on the New York Stock Exchange market. For Amazon, they operated for 6 years without breaking even, let alone thinking of making a profit. Note that these companies were established in countries where consumer behavior with regards to e-commerce was highly appreciable. In America, Europe and Asia, systems were already in place with the likes of Samsung, Apple, Microsoft, Dell, and many other huge companies helping to create awareness of the internet space. For instance, in 1996, when Dell launched its first server, Dell Inc.Soon, the company reported about 1 million sales per day from its Dell.com website. This was just 2 years after Amazon was established. This signifies a ready market with customers conversant with online shopping. Even though these companies were operating in well-developed countries, they had to wait for years before tasting profitability. In Jumia's case, established in a developing country with greater proportion of the population not familiar with e-commerce, they were up against something even worse. When you look at the business model of these e-commerce companies, it is easier to point out a couple of similarities in the industry. The first thing is a marketplace, which is basically their website or an app. Since it's a platform to display goods and services, they need products to showcase. They can either create from scratch a new product or outsource from third parties. It is mostly cost efficient to outsource already existing products from companies, retailers, or manufacturers, because it is already trusted by the consumers. This is where the big challenge emerges. As a new startup, most big brands know nothing about their business and how credible they are. This makes it difficult for manufacturers and sellers to come on board. Even if they do, they come in with a higher expectation of sales. Anything less than they used to get might put them off. As a new e-commerce startup with little exposure, it becomes difficult and costly to meet the demands of these early suppliers. In an interview, Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, explained how difficult it was when they first started. He said, and I quote, "First week, we have 7 employees. We buy and sell ourselves. The second week, somebody started selling on our website. We bought everything they sell. We had 2 rooms full of things we bought for no use. All garbage for first 2 weeks in order to tell people it works." End quote. This brings us to another important piece of e-commerce, which is marketing. For Jumia to operate and succeed in Africa, as Amazon and Alibaba did in America and China respectively, huge marketing plans had to be rolled in. Marketing over the years had gone over a series of transformations. With the establishment of Google in 1998 and the emergence of Facebook in 2004, marketing has again taken another form. In recent years, search engines and social media companies rule modern-day marketing, introducing the era of digital marketing. It is cost-effective, making targeting and retargeting super easy in today's world. This had been a great advantage Jumia had over the years. Over 800 million Africans are on the internet, making classified ads easier for Jumia to pursue. Unfortunately, this has also made their advertisement cost even bigger than the annual revenue of many established businesses. From 2017 to 2020, Jumia spent an average of 42.9 million euros every year on advertisement just to drive in sales. They went all out, especially using Facebook and Google Ads, which helped in reaching millions of potential customers every now and then. The important thing was that they were creating brand awareness, which later increased their customer base, while maximizing their opportunities using digital marketing. Television and radio adverts were not ignored. Closing down potential customers to other products on the site was not the end. The products needed to be packaged and shipped. After all, that is why a customer would choose to buy a product online than to walk to the local market to get it. Therefore, another crucial piece of the e-commerce puzzle is logistics. Logistics here means the acquisition, storage, and transportation of goods to their required destinations. This is a capital-intensive unit costing businesses millions of dollars. With Jumia, which established branches in 14 countries in Africa, their logistical demands were very high. Delivery systems in the form of vehicles and motors are capital-intensive. Warehouses to keep goods awaiting purchases and delivery were also huge expenditures. So as revenue began flowing in, some of these areas had to be pumped up. In Africa, there are so many technophobias. These are people who are naturally afraid to try new technologies. Also, since the introduction of the internet took some time before reaching a lot of people in Africa, many adults were born before the computer age. These technophobias and digital immigrants, however, form a significant number of the population, so Jumia came up with a plan. This brought about the introduction of JForce. This was a whole package that was ideally to expand their customer base by rewarding JForce agents for ordering products on behalf of others. It was a great idea, but along the line, it turned dark. A series of fraudulent schemes began building around the JForce sales system, causing ambiguity in sales volume and the gross merchandise value in their quarterly financial statements. People started rigging innocent and vulnerable people off their hard-earned money. It was suspected that some corrupt staff of Jumia were making money off the system. This occurred in a period when they were preparing to make another history in Africa by becoming the first tech company to be listed on the New York Stock Exchange market. While dealing with these problems, they went ahead and got listed. Even though their initial public offering went well, beginning with a share price of $14.50, it turned sour when the short seller by name Andre Lev, who worked for Citron Research, released a paper claiming fraudulent activities inflating the sales and revenue of Jumia. In his paper, he described Jumia as a securities fraud. These claims attracted a couple of lawsuits against the African giant. This destabilized their share price, causing a big decline of more than 50% in 1 week. Jumia lost about $120 million during this period. Jumia tried to address the claims and prove the legibility of their operations, but it availed to nothing. Ever since, their share price had been on the decline. In 2020, Andre Lev retracted his claim after being impressed by how Jumia reacted in an attempt to grow their business to a reputable level. A recovery was seen in 2020, which was very promising, but a sharp decline continued in 2021, causing fear among shareholders. But after all these ups and downs, Jumia is still receiving huge funds from investors. This brings us to the reasons why investors are still throwing money at Jumia, irrespective of their continuous losses. Let's make a quick comparison here. Amazon was listed in the New York Stock Exchange market in 1997, and their share price was $18. In 2001, their share price had reduced to about $5.97 and had not made any profit after 6 years of its establishment. Investors always want to maximize their investment, but those who understand this kind of business model waited a bit longer to see great returns on their investment. As at the recording of this video, Amazon's share price was at $3,491.59, and their early investors were making millions of dollars every single year. Jumia is on the path to profitability, and they are very likely to make it happen in the next few years. In fact, to reach profitability even quicker, they have put in measures to cut costs and increase revenue. In 2020, Jumia suspended operations in 3 countries, which was a big step to have a firm grip of their profitability goals. In the fourth quarter of 2020, Jumia was negatively hit by the pandemic, so their revenue slipped from 49.3 million euros to 41.8 million euros. But due to their cost reduction measures in place, Jumia was able to reduce its adjusted loss in earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization to 28.3 million euros. Looking at the full financial year, their total loss was reduced by 34.5%, which proved that Jumia is really on course to profitability. Even though there had been so many controversies locally and on the international level about Jumia's operation system, I believe it is one of the greatest businesses to ever grace the continent of Africa. Their efforts to reach the masses and in the process creating customer awareness in the e-commerce industry is a big step to bring Africa to an elite level in the era of the internet. Jumia is paying a huge price for today's e-commerce in Africa, which I believe is paving way for other small businesses to benefit from the enlightenment on internet shopping in Africa. Today, millions of Africans now have a feel of what buying and selling online is about, clearing most doubts and fears some people had in the past. As most e-commerce giants do, they first look at establishing a strong brand and then profitability follows. With their quest towards profitability, I believe that the tech company will soon get there and the pride of Africa will soar higher on the international level. Thanks for watching this video to the end. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell. Also, share this video with anyone you believe will love it as you did. Thanks again. See you in our next video. Until then, have a nice day.